Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to my channel. It gives me great pleasure to bring to you a subject which is becoming increasingly important in today's day and age, and it is about building digital mindset within leaders in your organization. As more and more enterprises invest heavily in the digital transformation program, the difference between failure and success is not only going to be the choice of technology, the timing of investment, the quality of use cases, and so on and so forth. It is also going to be dependent and contingent about how your leadership teams demonstrate digital mindset. In this video, I'm going to kind of touch upon what a mindset is, what is therefore a digital mindset, and 3 implementable steps on how to build digital mindsets in your organization. So stay tuned, watch the video till the end, and share, like, and comment as you deem fit. With that, let us move to the presentation around digital mindset. And here goes. Developing a digital mindset, 2nd May 2022. Important questions, very important. What is a digital mindset? Why is it important for leaders today? And how do you go about doing it? So these are some practical and implementable steps which you can start implementing from day zero. Before we get into the conversation around the digital mindset, I thought we'll spend some time understanding what a mindset is. A mindset is a set of is beliefs and assumptions with which we make a sense of the world. Now, typically, the way we think and act is dependent on how we see the world, right? And doing so, let me kind of explain this with 2 examples, with 2 polar opposite themes, which is the scarcity mindset and the abundance mindset. A scarcity mindset occurs when an individual is obsessed with a lack of something, typically time and money. It is a belief that there will be never enough for everybody and you have to compete for resources. In a scarcity mindset, competition is a dysfunctional and a negative thing because the belief is that the world is a zero-sum game. For somebody to succeed, somebody else has to fail. And therefore, people who demonstrate scarcity mindset actually believe that somebody's success diminishes your own opportunities, leading to negative emotions such as envy, and which is obviously, as we know, is very dysfunctional. An abundance mindset, on the contrary, believes that there is enough for everybody and are genuinely happy for others' success. People with abundance mindset lead happier and more fulfilling lives, while those with scarcity mindset live in strife, envy, and stress. The question is, with the important point here is that the way we look at the world and the way we frame our assumptions determines how we live our lives. Moving on, the question of digital mindset, the definition is it's a set of approaches we use to make sense of data and technology and how data and technology is going to impact our businesses. One could argue that depending upon the industry sector that we operate on, data and technology, when I say technology, it's digital technology, could be core or peripheral to success. Now, when I talk to people who come from industrials, core manufacturing, they say that digital technologies at best is an appendage to their firm's success, and this is a limiting response which is coming from the fact that their inability to view the future where data and technology can be used to create competitive advantage for themselves and set themselves apart from competitors. The other thing is, when I another group of people who think about digital mindset is about skills. While skills give you a vocabulary to ask a right set of questions, deep technical skills are not required to demonstrate digital mindsets. Now, as an example, the big picture therefore is digital mindsets is not about computer programs, algorithms, and how machine learning, deep learning, or artificial intelligence works, how neural networks, how to interpret statistical models, and so on and so forth. But digital mindset is about understanding how business models can be reconfigured using data, the know why of technology and what difference that technology can make to your consumer's life and so on and so forth. The know what are the levers of success that I need to pull to create a defensible moat against my competitors. Now, this being the big picture, let us move on to see that how what are the factors or the dimensions of digital mindset that are important to be demonstrated on the ground. First is an acute understanding of the environment. What is happening around me? What are the economic mega trends? What are industry structures, competitor moves, and so on and so forth? How is my consumer changing? Now, to give you an example, now classically tier 1 and tier 3 cities lag tier 1 cities in terms of adoption of technology in a traditional Indian context, but the research that we have done on the subject shows that adoption of technology in tier 2, tier 3, and even tier 4 towns is equally good as we see in tier 1, which actually mirrors what is happening in China. As a result of which, treating India between a metro, suburban, and a non-metro kind of a demographics is a faulted structure. So to be able to understand how do I need to connect with the Indian consumer in tier 3 cities who spend and whose time spent on the net is more than what is happening in the tier 1 city, I need to actually reframe my assumptions about my consumer profile. Similarly, competitor moves and my what's happening in adjacencies. Now, with that, how do I look at data and insights and put it in the context? I mean, the kind of data that is getting generated as India evolves into a more digital society, and with the government's programs around enabling digital, the India stack, and so on and so forth. What is the consequence of that in the businesses that I am currently in? And from there, recognize a set of patterns which is going to impact the way I am going to deliver my goods and services. For instance, I mean, we live in Internet 2.0 or Web 2.0 world where data is the key, and centralization of data and centralization of big tech environments actually are creating ecosystems which are proprietary ecosystems or walled gardens. When we go to Web 3.0, also known as the metaverse, and the way the internet is changing, data is going to be not restricted, and the internet is going to be much more democratized and decentralized. Consequently, data incumbency and the moat created around the data incumbency is going to peter off over a period of time. Putting all of this in context, what are the choices that I make for myself, my industry, and my enterprise in the context of the world as it emerges from internet web 1.0 to web 2.0 to web 3.0, and am I making the investments at the right point in time? Needless to say, as an individual and a leader, do I have confirmatory biases, which is, I mean, looking for and interpreting into information based on beliefs that I have already had? If I have confirmatory biases, then the future is for me a replica of the past, which is not how the world is evolving. With that, let us move on to the implementable parts of building digital mindset, and there are basically 3 steps to building it. Now, the first one I picked up from this book called The Digital Mindset, written by Paul Leonardi and Neely. It's a very interesting book. It goes into details of what is a digital mindset, how do you go about doing it, and so on and so forth. But I picked this step out from that book. And it basically says that all digital operations are built on a relationship between 3 entities. So it's important to know these relationships for any manager who is building a digital enterprise. It basically says computers are stuff that get things done. And as computing power increases and cost of computing comes down, computer do things faster and cheaper, right? And as we go on to quantum computing as a subject, there are computers which are going to solve stuff that normal supercomputers could not. So that's first thing. The second one is algorithms, which is the software part, which is computers, as Neely and Leonardi have said, computers
which is the hardware, software, and data, and the relationship between the three determine the success, determine all digital operations. The second part, which is the software part, is the algorithm, which is tells the computer what to do and how to do it. And data basically is a software program using to decide to tell the computer, decide what to tell the computer what to do. So these three things are basics, and clarity of understanding of this first step is integral to building my digital mindset. How many of us know this clearly and can apply and kind of define the phenomena that we see on the manifest is a very big question mark. Do read this book. The second important thing is to understand how the internet is getting transformed and what are the consequences of our business. Now, classically, if you looked at Web 1.0 in the early 2000s, it was static web pages where you could read information, and therefore, what did businesses do? They put their catalog on the web as static content. But as we moved on from 2010 and above, companies like Facebook, Google, and stuff online created the interactive content where you could interact on the internet, and it was a circular loop, and you have Twitter, Yelp, and stuff like them, where platforms became important. And platforms, as they became more and more powerful, the business models were centralized. So you had a data and a data incumbency around the platform. So if you were a participant, so big tech was the orchestrator of these platforms. For instance, you had an Apple, you have an Amazon, you have a Facebook or a Google, who are orchestrators of these platforms, and then you have participants on the platform, and the economic benefits would be shared. So it was about read, write, and the infrastructure was around, moved from the classical PC computing model to the cloud and mobile model. Important to say, it was centralized. The data was centralized. So it was a walled garden and proprietary data system which controlled the internet. But as we are moving on, and Web 3.0, it is read, write, own, and the creation of a virtual economy around the net, where people are like RTKFT is making sneakers or Nike sneakers, which are sold to your virtual sneakers, which are sold to you through NFTs or non-fungible tokens, and which have a unique identity of their own, and people are buying and selling land, buying and selling virtual land and developing virtual land, and that's where this whole movement is going, and it is becoming more and more decentralized. So as the net becomes from Web 2.0 to Web 3.0 more decentralized, the important question to ask is, if I have built my entire business model on data privacy and on the incumbency of data, which is what classical digital transformation has been all about, as the web goes into more and more decentralized and people move with their data, I mean individuals move with their data from one platform to the other, my incumbency of that model is going to be challenged, and which is going to be severely limiting as we go on. And that's why, that's why Facebook has rechristened itself into metaverse, and all the big tech companies are moving into this new dimension, investing huge amounts of money to stay relevant in Web 3.0. Important question for all of us to understand is, the centralized web is getting more and more decentralized. As it is going to go more and more decentralized, data incumbency is going to be a thing of the past. Now, this is going to probably happen in 10 years down the line. People demonstrating digital mindset might be working on closed systems right now, but have a view of the future and know how to build competitive advantages in an environment which is completely going to be interoperable, and data is going to move from proprietary ecosystems into more equitable ecosystem. Big change. So how much do your leaders know about it? How much are they obsessed about it, and how are they delivering goods and services around it? For instance, Gucci is actually creating virtual bags and selling them as NFT as an alternative. And this whole thing around the metaverse has been obviously started by gaming, but there are monetization opportunities for almost every enterprise. Which part of the value chain do you want to play is an issue of strategy, but contingent amongst your leaders' ability to visualize the future in an environment where the internet that we see today is fundamentally going to be altered. Now, consequently, as the internet is going to be altered, and we know that there is enough investments. It is about in our estimates about $600 billion are getting invested in the web of the future, which is 2020 and beyond. How is the interaction between individuals and the net going to fundamentally change? And this chart brings it out quite eloquently. So the interaction layer, which in the classical sense, in the generation that I grew up using the internet, was a desktop browser. It has now become mobile, which is touch and swipe, which is today. It is going to be more wearables, AR, VR, headset, interactive headset, voice, Internet of Things, and intelligent device. The physical structure around us, which is the experience layer around us, is going to be more and more programmed, which is I can actually customize the environment that I want to interact with. And this is done through a computational layer which is distributed using edge computing and low latency networks, enabling me to kind of program the environment to work differently and blank off parts of the physical environment that has no relevance to us, which means that I could actually kind of decide if I am a factory worker, I can actually get into a digital twin of my factory, do my work on a digital twin, enable a drone to get a particular device for a repair thing done, use it, get it done on a digital environment, and come out of that without actually going through the physical contours of managing a factory from a physical standpoint. Right, now this is tectonic, which will change the way industrials are going to organize, getting organized, and the way factories are going to run. And obviously, unstructured big data, which is what we are dealing with today, which is proprietary data, is going to be distributed through the blockchain, the cloud blockchain, where people are going to move with data and people are going to have access to data. So the big data incumbency of the Facebooks and the Googles of the world are going to change necessarily. So the entire metaverse ecosystem is enabling that, which will transform the data systems and the way we are currently building digital transformation. So the big question here is, while we are at this point in time in strongly in Web 2.0, building our digital transformation programs, creating moat using proprietary data and walled gardens, as we move in Web 3.0, what are the aspects that we need to consider and deliver at the same time? Point number three, moving on, is visualization of a new value proposition for our consumers, because the consumers are going to change from people who would be desktop browsing are going to use AR and VR headsets and want a customizable experience. So we are today at creating digital experiences in the physical world, where there is a physical world and a digital world. Much of them are separate, to creating physical environments and experiences that are innately digital, which is what I talked about. I walk into a factory to kind of set apart, right? I walk into actually a digital twin of a factory, which is a absolute digital replica of a factory, and my environment is programmed around me with SOPs and so on and so forth. So which is the new value proposition of the future? Digital mindset, ladies and gentlemen, is asking the right questions about the future, understanding how the web is going to change and how my business model is fundamentally changing while I'm at Web 2.0, planning to Web 3.0. Important question. So therefore, to say is, do I understand the relationship between computers, software, and data, which is the fundamental and the basic concept. The second is, do I know how the internet is changing, and as the internet is changing, how consumer behaviors will change and what will be my response to that. The third important practical aspect is providing leadership to my organization to make the transformation, because at this point in time most organizations in India are kind of struggling to get at Web 2.0 to get the digital transformation process right. And I see it industry after industry. I mean, the emotions that are myopia, which is entrenched in orthodoxy, and inability to move out from Web 1.0, which is the static internet, into interactive content internet, is a big challenge in itself. Now, and obviously the pain avoidance and inertia, reluctance to endure upfront costs, unwillingness to cannibalize the core, this is going to be even more amplified as we move from Web 2.0, which is the interactive internet, to the internet where the physical and digital worlds are going to coincide. How do I create the organization momentum? How do I create the value proposition? How do I continuously reinforce what I'm doing well today and also cannibalize the core to be able to make the big move and transform to the new world?
Now, that said, there are many, many dimensions that need to be taken into consideration while developing digital mindset. But from tomorrow, if I understand deeply the environment, the technology environment that is going to be relevant in my industry, I understand my value proposition, and I create a narrative in my organization to keep my core, do not solidify my core, but keep it brittle and flexible so that it can change due to circumstances. We would be demonstrating digital leadership. So, digital leadership is not about making technology investments, getting the use cases in place, but it is about using your understanding about the changes of the internet, the consumer behavior, and understanding how the web 3.0 is going to pan out to us in our respective industries or demographics after 2025 is what we need to demonstrate today. With that, hope you enjoyed this video. More content coming up. As I said, do watch, share, and comment on this video feed as you deem fit. Thank you for watching and have a nice day.